What's cracking, everyone? UFC on ESPN just finished. This is going to be my reaction and results to the fight. Man, was this card cracking. What a way to start off 2019 first UFC card. From the the early prelims to the main card, man, the fights were just cracking. The first fight I want to talk about and give the results for is the Muhammad versus Neal fight, the Jeff Neal. Man, that's kind of how I said it was going to go, like in my prediction, where I said that Neal's going to pick up as he goes, and his output's going to increase in the later rounds, and that's what happened. And he was just landing that left and right all day. And shout out to Muhammad, because he got dropped in the last round, and he found a way to get up. He got dropped by, I believe, the head kick that finished Camacho in the last fight. So you know that head kick's brutal, and Muhammad just after he fell down, he just got up and ate that shit. And he was actually taunting Neal and like trying to push forward in the last like 30 seconds. You could see the Neal was maybe a little gassed or get a little energy jump from almost getting the finish. And all respect to Muhammad for staying in that fight. He has a crazy chin, as you can see. If you don't knock him out cold like he got knocked out against I forgot the guy's name, but a few fights ago, if you don't knock him out cold, man, he's gonna keep fighting. He's tough as hell. But Neal gets the win by unanimous decision. The next fight I want to talk about is the Joanne Calderwood versus Ariana Lipski. This fight was amazing. Went how I wanted it to go. I believe in my prediction I said Joanne Calderwood was going to win by submission or decision. I can't remember what I said, but almost both of those actually happened in this fight. It was pretty much Joanne Calderwood grappling being too much for Lipski. And like I said in my prediction video, Calderwood just had to survive that swarm that Lipski brings, because every time Lipski fights, she brings this swarm of just throwing everything 100% power. And she tried to do that to Calderwood, but Calderwood survived, took the punches, tied her up, and took her to the ground. And she tried multiple submissions, almost had a couple arm bars. Even I think she had her back at one point, I believe. And respect for Lipski for staying in there and not getting choked out or tapped out. But Calderwood gets the win she got the win by unanimous decision. Amazing fight. I'm happy to see JoJo getting on this win streak. JoJo 2.0 is for real. You can see how much she improved her ground game from her last fights. Because in her last fights before her most recent one, she didn't have no finishes actually at all with submissions. And then her last fight, she got an armbar, and in this one, you could see how good her grappling is, where she almost had multiple submissions, just constantly trying to lock one up. Amazing fight, good win for Joanne. And on to the next fight, which was the main card for the ESPN portion at the ESPN Plus, which is Donald Cerrone versus Alexander Hernandez. Man, like I said in my prediction, the old buck showed the young dude, the young buck, a lesson. You know what I mean? Cowboy Cerrone's kicks, his overall experience was too much for Hernandez. All the striking that Cerrone was bringing, those knees, that every time Hernandez tried to close the distance and throw some strikes, Cerrone was up the middle with them knees to the body. Cerrone was good with the combinations. Even after Hernandez would throw something to catch Cerrone, because he was catching Cerrone's getting tagged up a little bit, but every time Cerrone would get tagged, he wouldn't just eat it and then, you know what I mean, he would get it back. And that was one thing that I think saved Cerrone in this fight. He was constantly trying to get it back. He wouldn't just let Hernandez score and then rest. Cerrone was constantly getting him back and landing even harder. And eventually, that head kick kept on landing. He landed it once before the finish. And man, those Cerrone head kicks, you already know how they be. They're brutal. And they sat young buck Hernandez down, and Cerrone did brutal ground and pound and got the finish. Cerrone breaks his own record for the most finishes and most wins in the UFC history. He's the best fighter ever to never win a bout. He's just amazing. He's an awesome fighter. We're really gonna miss Cerrone when he stops fighting, because there's not gonna be too many people like him that'll just fight whenever. Doesn't matter who, you know what I mean? Watch, when he's gone, we're really gonna miss him. Cerrone's a one of a kind fighter. Amazing win for Cerrone. He calls out McGregor. and which is interesting is McGregor responds quickly to that, and McGregor said, after a win like that, or after a performance like that, Cerrone, I'll give you a fight. And that fight is awesome. Like when it was first rumored before the Hernandez fight was set, I was really hyped for that fight because I wanted to see McGregor get slapped for the head kick. The same way Cerrone did to Hernandez, I wanted to see that to McGregor. So, hey, McGregor's responding. To get a quick response like that from McGregor, that's cool to get his attention. The fight might happen. That's a very good fight. Cerrone versus McGregor, man. Exciting fight. I like the sound of that. I definitely like the sound of that. And then Cowboy wants to get a title shot. That's the way to get it. You know what I mean? Get a win over McGregor. That's definitely the way to get it. Not fighting these random people, just to take a fight. Even though that's what Cerrone's known for. If Cerrone's goal is to get the belt, like he's talking about, it's not just fight at who's who. You know what I mean? He needs to fight smart people like McGregor that'll get him right next to a title shot if he wins. So I love the idea of the McGregor and Cerrone. Awesome win for Cerrone. He got the TKO finish. On to the next fight, which is I'm gonna talk about, is Glover Teixeira versus Robertson. That fight was, man, talk about a comeback for Teixeira, man. I thought it was done when Teixeira was against the cage eating those elbows, because Teixeira put him against the cage trying to go for a takedown, and it was one of those situations like where Travis Brown got those knockouts with the elbows, and Robertson was dropping them elbows on Teixeira, and you could see Teixeira's body could go completely limp, and I thought it was over right there, then and there, but Teixeira found a way, still trying to grab a single leg, and he recovered, and even though he was eating even more ground and pound elbows, and eventually Teixeira finds a way to get a arm triangle, I believe, and taps out Robinson. Just insane. It was awesome comeback for Teixeira. Get a good win. He needed that win. You know what I mean? It would have been hard. Would have been disappointing to see him go out that. You know what I mean? If he would have got finished with those elbows. So good to see him get that finish. It was a first round finish too. So congrats. Good win for Teixeira. I'd probably like to see Teixeira fight maybe. I'm drawing a blank to that guy that just got that knockout. I'm always talking about him and I keep forgetting his name. The guy that knocked out Khalil Roundtree. In his last fight, I would like to see Teixeira fight him, because I believe that would be a very good stand-up battle. And if that guy wins, the guy that beat Khalil Roundtree, that will get him right there, the top 10, top 5. And on to the next fight, which was an amazing fight, one I was super anticipated for. Rachel Ostovich versus Paige Van Zandt. Man, this fight was exciting from the get-go. Rachel was having her way in the beginning with her she had some nice overhands, 2 sweeps, and she actually, it looked like she dropped Paige at one point, but it was more like she just landed a clean right overhand and then sweeped her almost right after. And it was beautiful the way it flowed, and she did that twice to Paige, and she was working her good on the ground. They're having good transitions, and then eventually Paige, they had this one scramble, and Paige ends up getting her back, and Rachel is flattened out, and Paige is landing a bunch of strikes. And I thought it was going to get stopped right there due to strikes. I'm all screaming to the TV, "Don't stop, Rachel, stay in it. Don't stop the fight, don't stop the fight." And Rachel ends up surviving and moving, but then Paige Van Zandt ends up locking up an armbar and taps Rachel. And you can see how disappointed Rachel was. She was hanging her head down, and she didn't get up for a good minute. And yeah, good win for Paige. I'm disappointed. I really wanted to see Rachel win, especially after what she's been going through. She's an amazing person. Definitely wanted to see her get a win, but congrats to Paige. She needed a win too, especially after a loss and breaking her arm in her last fight. So good win for Paige. And I believe Paige said in her post-fight interview that she heard that she heard Rachel's arm pop right before she tapped. So I hope Rachel's arm's okay. Disappointing because I was going for Rachel, but it it was an action-packed fight. The fight didn't oh shit, I'm drawing a blank. The fight didn't disappoint. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know why I was drawing a blank there. But yeah, the fight didn't disappoint. It was definitely an exciting fight. Just not the outcome I wanted. But at least it wasn't too much punchy face in the face for these beautiful women, you know what I mean? It was just amazing grappling for the most part, besides Paige getting cracked with a couple right hands. And on to the next fight I want to talk about is Gregor Gillespie versus Yancy Medeiros. Actually not an amazing fight, really not. The Gregor's performance left kind of a sour taste in my mouth. He did the job. He beat Yancy Medeiros via, I believe, second or third round finish. Second round finish. He finished him with 1 second left in the round. What can you say about the fight? I seen the statistic. Yancy landed literally 1 strike, and due to that, because Gregor was just constantly taking Yancy down and constantly like just holding, and Yancy would get up and he would constantly hold Yancy, and wouldn't strike, and Yancy would get up and then he would constantly take Yancy back down, and he wasn't landing anything. He was just constantly holding. Yancy would get up and then he would take him back down. Yancy could have stopped the takedown, and then in the second round, with like maybe 15 seconds left, Gregor had Yancy flying down. Gregor was just landing TK ground and pound punches, and eventually gets a stoppage. But in my opinion, I think the fight should have just went to the third round. You know what I mean? Because Gregor wasn't landing nothing the whole fight. It wasn't like it was 2 rounds of Yancy getting beat up. You've seen Yancy in wars and take punishment. This wasn't nothing. It was just 20 or 15 seconds of getting hit while flattened out. And I know it looked bad because he wasn't throwing nothing back, but it wasn't like he was getting completely beat up before this. Nothing was happening besides takedowns before this. So I think it should have went on to the third round. They stopped it with a second left. You know, Gregor's a good up-and-coming prospect. That performance left a sour taste in my mouth. More so because I'm a big Yancy Medeiros fan. He's one of my favorite fighters. But that wrestling was too much for Yancy. I thought Yancy's pressure and with the strikes would eventually be too much for Gregor in the later rounds. But it was the other way around for Gregor with the grappling. So the grappling was too much. Gregor gets the win by second round TKO with a second left in the round. On to the next fight, which was the co-main event, Greg Hardy versus Alan Crowder. This fight was actually a good fight up until the finish, which was a illegal knee by Greg Hardy, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But man, this fight was good. You know, Greg Hardy came out quick like he always does, swinging and banging, and you could see like when Alan Crowder was eating those shots, and it was maybe like 3 minutes into the first round, you could see a different look on Greg Hardy. He was like, oh shit, like he's still here, because Greg Hardy's so used to getting people out. Like in his last fights, all of them were like the longest they lasted was 2 minutes, I believe, in the first round. So once it passed that certain amount of time and Alan Crowder was still standing, you could see it kind of threw off Hardy a little bit. And then where it really picked up is when it got to the second round, I believe, and Hardy was when Alan Crowder was taunting Hardy, and if you can find a clip of it on Instagram or Twitter, look at it. It was awesome. Alan Crowder was just punking Greg Hardy out like a girl, bruh. He was talking shit. I would love to know what he was telling him. He was just talking mad shit, putting his hands up, Diaz style, taunting Greg Hardy to come on. He's like, come on, bro, hit me. Talking hella shit, and eventually, like, they do an exchange, and they end up on the ground, and then while Alan Crowder's getting up, Greg Hardy throws an obvious illegal knee, and it gets stopped. Disqualification for Greg Hardy, and Alan Crowder wins. You know, I believe Greg Hardy didn't like that shit talking. I think he didn't like getting punked out, and just to him being not having a lot of experience, you know, and just you know him being his past and the type of person he is, I think he just got angry and threw that because it doesn't look like an accidental knee. It was kind of obvious, and yeah, you know, who knows? Maybe Greg Hardy was even getting a little gas. You know what I mean? Because Alan Crowder was eating his shots and coming forward. He was walking Greg Hardy down before this illegal knee happened. He was walking him down, talking shit, and landing shots. So I don't know. You know, I'm happy it went to Alan Crowder. I think he deserves the win. You know what I mean? Because you know, it sucks to deal with a cheater and get hit with that. So Crowder wins via disqualification, or he defeats him due to disqualification because he gets hit with a legal knee. This is not what Greg Hardy needs, especially what he's known for. You know, Greg Hardy is already known for his past for domestic violence and hitting women. So you know, this is not what you need. You know, getting a disqualification win. So, I mean, not disqualification win, disqualification loss due to legal knees. It just makes you look even worse. The last thing he needed, but so yeah, Al Crowder gets the win. I think it's a very deserving win, and I don't know if they're gonna keep Greg Hardy. I would assume they're gonna let go Greg Hardy, but if they put him in the co-main event, I think they want to keep him and they wanted to build him up. And so yeah, that's about it for that fight. It was an exciting fight until the finish. And I still don't believe it deserved the co-main event slot at all. Like, no way it deserved to be co-main event. But hey, that's what happens when you put a former domestic violence person and, you know what I mean? It would have passed like that onto a co-main event. He's only been a pro for only been training MMA for 3 years. That's what happens. So Crowder gets the win due to disqualification. On to the main event, TJ Dillashaw versus Henry Cejudo, which is the one I bet you guys all been wanting to hear. The shocker, Henry Cejudo defeats TJ Dillashaw in 32 seconds via TKO or knockout. Insane, man. How crazy is this? And what did I say in my breakdown? The weight cut might be a problem for TJ Dillashaw, you know what I mean? Because when you cut all that weight, that protection in your head that stops your brain from rattling against your skull, you know what I mean? That diminishes when you cut all that weight. And this, you need to put into perspective that TJ Dillashaw already cuts a lot of weight and is very lean for 135. He cuts weight already for 135, so imagine cutting even more for 125, how much more his brain's going to be diminished, you know what I mean, and more susceptible for knockouts. So that's what happened. You know, you can see there was an exchange where TJ Dillashaw comes in, Cejudo pushes TJ down pretty easy. Like, you can see there was like a strength advantage right there, and TJ Dillashaw goes down, Cejudo takes advantage, cracks him with a head kick, and then a right hand behind the ear, and TJ goes down, and TJ couldn't recover. He gets up, he recovers for a second, but then Cejudo swarms him again, hits him a couple more times, he goes down again, gets up one more time, and Cejudo puts him down for the final punch, and it was over for TJ. TJ argued the stoppage and complained about it, but I think it was a good stoppage. I think the way he was getting dropped constantly and it was right in the beginning, I think it was just going to be more of him getting hit. So good stoppage, Henry Cejudo, man. You got to stop underestimating him. I underestimated him myself. I thought TJ was going to pull it off regardless of the weight cut, but man, Henry Cejudo, first he beats Demetrius Johnson, DJ, who's considered one of the best fighters ever, beats him, and then turned around and beats TJ Dillashaw, one of the best bantamweights ever, and he just beats him in 32 seconds so convincingly, man. Cejudo's gonna be there for one of the GOATs, you know, one of a top, at least in the top 5 greatest of all time. Because to beat Mighty Mouse and then to beat TJ, that's amazing. And then plus you're an Olympic gold medal winner. Yeah. And Cejudo said, I'll go up in weight, TJ, and I'll fight you and give you a rematch. Which, you know, that's a cool idea. You know, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. I think that, you know, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting to see, you know, how TJ will be able to take a punch better, because, you know, you can see in TJ's last fights, even though he gets dropped and clipped sometimes, he would recover most of the time. You know what I mean? So I think it'll be definitely more competitive when Dillashaw doesn't have to diminish himself as much. So that's what they're trying to call for next. So I think that's what they're gonna do. But at the end of the day, amazing card. I loved it. Awesome fights. Man, Henry Cejudo, shocker, back to back. He beats DJ and then beats TJ. That's just insane. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching to the end. Amazing night of fights. Hope you guys enjoyed the fights. Hope you guys watched them. Alright, till the next video. See you guys later. Peace. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Later.